The De Bello Gallico, Caesar's Book 5, chapter 34 and 35. The barbarians have surrounded the Romans, and Romans are in a bad, bad way. Barbarians have a plan, the Romans did not. They are in the moment, which is always a bad disaster. But the plan, the concilium, did not lack. De plus sumesse, to lack, did not lack for the barbarians. For the leaders of them ordered them to announce, pronunciare, on the whole battle line. Agmen is battle line, achies, a fifth declension word, is also battle line. Ablative. They ordered them to announce, lest, so that not, a negative purpose clause, and we have seen this in Numene, all the olives fall away. Lest anybody, so that not anybody, would leave, would depart, would go away from the location, thinking that they already had it in the bag. They ordered them to announce that there was booty of those guys, meaning the Romans, and that whatever the Romans had perfectly left behind, that whatever was reserved. This is the infinitive of the indirect statement, just like esse was the infinitive of the indirect statement. And there's your accusative subject of reservare, and there's your accusative subject of esse. That their booty was of those guys. And whatever, neuter plural, was reserved for them, for those guys, meaning the barbarians, and it's whatever the Romans had left behind. Thenceforth, from there, they were thinking, existimo existimare, that all things, omnia, accusative, plural, subject of posita, esse, had been placed in victory. In other words, they thought that they had it in the bag. And they were equal, pares, from the adjective paris. They were equal both in their virtue and in the number of the fighting. This has daggers in it because obviously something has gone on. They were not equal. Our guys, nostri, although or even if they were deserted by their leader and by fortune, literally by their leader, Caesar's not with them, Sabinus is not with them, and figuratively by fortune, and this is a zeugma, nevertheless, they were placing pono ponere, all their hope, omnium spem, of safety in the genitive in their virtue. They're going to tough it out. And however often, totienes means so often, quotienes is however often, each cohort, remember, quique, each cohort had run forth a large number of the enemies, genitive plural, fell from that part. And so what is being described here is the circle of the Romans. If this part runs forward, they kill a bunch of the enemies, and then they immediately retreat. And we're going to find out what Bjorks is going to make a decision as to how to deal with this, because they are taking casualties when they shouldn't have to. They have the Romans surrounded. So it continues by saying, with this thing, ablative absolute, having been noticed, Ambiorix orders them to be announced, or orders it to be announced, that they throw yakio yakere yehi yaktus, their weapons, neuter plural accusative, from afar, and that they not go forward, they not approach more closely. Prope means near. This would be more nearly. So in other words, don't get near them. And into what part the Romans have made a perfect subjunctive, their attack, they yield, they go away. This is not cado, to fall. Cado, as we saw a second ago, right there, C-A-D, to fall. This is cado, to yield or to go away. They go away, they yield. So in other words, again, with the whole part of the semicircle, when the Romans run out, the barbarians, they're going to run away. And the plan is that they will stay away and then throw weapons in from afar. Continuing on, by the ablative lightness, levity of their weapons, and by their daily quotidiana exercising, that nothing was able to be harmed for these guys. And so they're just going to wait it out and not get close to the Romans, even when the Romans run out. And again, receiving themselves to the standards, they follow. Sequor, sequi, secutus sum. What that means is that when the Roman who has made the attack, that group, maybe it'll work. No. When they make the attack, when they run back, the enemies run back with them. So it's like a big yo-yo match going forward. Continuing on. Quo praecepto. With which precept? A precept is an order. So, with this order, having been observed, an ablative absolute, most diligently, superlatively, by these guys, when a certain cohort, quaepiam in some, when a certain cohort had gone out from the circle, that arc that I had shown you, and had made it its attack, the enemies, they fled, they were fleeing most quickly. Velox means fast, we get the word velocity. Meanwhile, it was necessary that that part be exposed. What's being explained here is this. That's the semicircle, and you have that arc of Romans had run forth to go and attack the enemies. All of a sudden, they are exposed on each side. So, meanwhile, it was necessary that that part be nuded and that it receive, or weapons, be received, a passive infinitive, from the open side. And so, therefore, weapons began coming into the open side, even from all directions, as it were. So, it is a disaster, even the strategy that was originally working for the Romans. Again, when they had begun to be turned back into that location from where, unde is whence or from where, they had gone out. This is describing the arc returning to the semicircle. Remember? So, again, when they had begun to be turned back into that location from where they had set out, and they were come round, they were encircled, literally to come around in the passive, to be come round, and when they were being encircled, ob eis, by those who had yielded, so the guys who had run away, they're now trying to encircle those enemies, and by those who had stood right next. And so the guys who had run away, the enemies, when this arc of the circle came to attack, when they started to go back, the enemies would begin to encircle them, and the enemies who were on this side and this side. They, of course, helped in that encircling, so they want to cut off and encircle that little arc of the kill circle, to isolate it, cut it off. Sin, but if, however, they wanted to hold their place, their location, no place was being left behind for virtue. This is Caesar essentially saying that if they think that this is a long-term strategy, if they were wanting to hold their location, like hold the line, there was no place was being left behind for virtue. They can be virtuous all they want to, but it's not a strategy. Being brave is not a strategy. Being brave gets you killed as much as being cowardly if you have the bad strategy. So, no place was left behind for virtue. Neque, and not were they the ones packed in together, confertus aum, means packed in together. The ones packed in together were not able to avoid the weapons having been thrown ab tanta multitude, by so great a multitude. And so even though they might be brave, they are just hemmed in. And being hemmed in, you, one, have no strategy long term, and two, You've got so many of the enemies surrounding, they're just raining down weapons upon them. However, Tamtum, or Tamin, having been afflicted, conflicati is the same as adflicati, having been afflicted by so many inconveniences, remember a commodus thing is a convenient thing, an incommodus thing is inconvenient, having been inflicted by so many unfortunate things, like the weapons that are flying down on them, with many wounds having been received, they resisted. Caesar's point above is that, yeah, they got virtue, but you can't count on that. And with a large part of the day having been consumed, this is your ablative absolute, when it was fought, Caesar loves the personal or impersonal passive. It was verbed. Caesar would not say, the students came into the room. Caesar would say, it was come into the room by the students. It was verbed. When it was fought from first light to the 8th hour, they committed nothing which was unworthy of themselves. Now, the word dignusaum means worthy, and it takes an ablative, but the words in English that we usually say with worthy, worthy of. And so even though it is an ablative, we use the English expression of to translate it with dignus, worthy of, or indignus, unworthy of. So the word indignant. So what Caesar is saying, yeah, they fought all day, they fought bravely, but the problem, as Caesar brought up earlier, they don't have a strategy. And so then, to Tito Balawentio. Now, it is not the nominative, so it's not the subject. So let's go find it. It's the femur, and it's the utrumque femur. Femur is your thigh. And then each thigh, your dative of possession, for Titus Balventius, is pierced, is skewered with a javelin. So why does he bring up this guy by name? Because he is one of the most important men in the army. Titus Balventius, who in the previous year, superiore anno ablative, had held or had led
Please report to your
the
mom's office
prima
at this
pili,
time.
the top spot. The primus pili is the guy who is the centurion that is the top ranking centurion, and the centurions are the backbone of the Roman army. So this is a guy that is tremendously important, and thus it is said as an appositive. Titus Balventius, a forti viro, a brave man, and a man of great authority. So here, this is your genitive of characteristic, a man of great authority. So he gets taken out by a javelin to the leg. Continuing on, he mentions another guy by name, Quintus Lucanius, of the same rank. That rank is the top spot. And you hold that top spot for a year. And so you can imagine you have all of these centurions, like sergeants in the army, who have that experience, have that authority, have that rank. And these are the ones that are falling in battle. And Quintus Lucanius, of the same rank, fighting most bravely, is killed, interficio interficere, to kill, while he comes underneath. He assists is really what subvenio means. To succor, to provide assistance. An English word, succor, means to give assistance to. So, while he succors his son, and it takes a dative object. So while he assists his son, having been come round, he is killed. So Quintus Lucanius and his son are fighting in the same army. And when his son is surrounded, he, of course, tries to come and bring him help, but he is killed. And then Lucius Cotta, the legate, the guy who had said it was a bad idea to go to begin with, he, encouraging hortor, hortare, hortatus sum, a deponent verb, a present active participle, all the cohorts and the ranks, he is wounded, vulnerator, in his facing face. Now, what's your facing face? Your facing mouth? straight dead on, not the side, not a glance shot, but straight on. And he is wounded, funda, with a sling. And so in this way, all of these guys, these backbones of the army, are obviously struggling. And in that way, obviously, you have here the situation looking dire. Because not only are they surrounded, but Caesar names them by name. He doesn't do it often. Titus Maventius dies. Quintus Lucanius dies. And then Cotta, to the face, head on. So the Romans, they're in a bad, bad way. So we'll move on in the next video to the next chapter. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.